All right, we're going to get it in this one. This is my third take. Hello, everybody. Welcome to Sam J Has Questions. I'm your host, Sam J. My guest today is actor, writer, director Scott Kidd. Scott Kidd has a movie that you can see him in. It came out November 12th. I'm sorry, I should have had this podcast out sooner. The movie is called Cross, Rise of the Villains. It's starring Vinnie Jones and Danny Trejo. Scott is in there. He gets his ass kicked. Yeah, he takes a punch. So check out the trailer. It's in the description. We went over a lot of stuff. He's originally from Louisiana. He was an EMT in Louisiana. We have a few EMT related stories. So if you feel a little bit queasy about blood or gore, maybe you can skip through that part, just giving you a heads up. Our conversation went in a lot of places. I liked hearing about how he views his impact in this world and what the purpose of his life is. I really enjoyed hearing him say that. I always ask my guests, like, what is their purpose? It's a roundabout question. They're roundabout questions, but that's essentially what this podcast is about. It's about finding out what other people's purposes are and getting a little bit of insight and help in that for myself. I'm trying to do the same thing, and I hope this is valuable. I hope this is valuable to people. I mean, I do this because I genuinely enjoy talking with people, but I also want others to listen to this and not forcing them to. It'd be nice if a few, 100,000 more downloads. Not pointing the fingers at anybody. I'm looking at you, 100,000 people. Listen to this and take something from it. And if they want more of a certain thing, let me know. This is how this works. I'm just throwing stuff out there. If it hits, it hits. And if something's done and you like it, and you go, hey Sam, talk to more people like that or bring them back, let me know. Let me know. This is how this works. This is not a dictatorship. It's not communism. It's somewhat in between. I don't know what is that. Capitalism? It's capitalism. It's pretty much capitalism. This is a capitalistic podcast with no capital. So we're working on that. We're gonna work on that for 2020. We got a lot of big things in the mix, I guess. I mean, there's always big things in the mix. Fun fact about me, the mix is what I call my penis. Okay, I'm so sorry for people that are listening with children. That was a bad joke, but just that's the big mix. A lot of big things coming. Anyways, guys, listen to Scott Kidd's conversation on this podcast. Or else what? Or what am I going to do? I can't really do anything to you. I mean, you have all the power in this scenario. And I will admit that. I know a lot of performers and people are like, you can't let the crowd know that they're in charge. You got to commandeer. You got to be the leader. I'm telling you, you got all the control in this scenario. I put these podcasts out, and it's up to people to listen to them or not. I mean, I can promote them. I can make some Instagram things. But at the end of the day, I'm not going to spend any money to promote this thing because it's costing me money. I am hemorrhaging money to keep this podcast afloat. All right? And I don't have to do this. I don't have to do it. I can just stop. You know what? This could be the last podcast. How do you feel then? Does it make you feel sad? Huh? Does it make you feel sad that this might be the last podcast? Does it make you feel sad? That's a little my Chris Farley impression. I'm feeling good. I just had a second cup of coffee, by the way. This is my third take of an intro. I think I'm nailing it, by the way. Regardless of what I've said in the last 3 minutes and 46 seconds, please enjoy the podcast with Scott Kidd and have a good day. Happy Thanksgiving, Turkey Day, or whatever you want to do. I know it's kind of a touchy subject about, the genocide, but just enjoy your family if you can. If you don't have a family, or you got a shitty family, maybe go see some friends. If you don't have any friends, go bowling. Don't go bowling by yourself. That'd be weird. Go to a movie or something. Just do something to be thankful for. At the end of this podcast, I want you to leave a comment somewhere. Wherever you comment, put what you're grateful for. Please, gratitude is the correct attitude. I think I should copyright that. Hello, everybody. You're watching and listening to Sam J Has Questions. I'm your host, Sam J, and today my guest is none other than stand-up comedian, actor, visionary. The list goes on and on. I can't think of any more, though. Please welcome to the show, Scott Kidd. Come on down, Scott. All right. Welcome to the show. That's your... Thank you. That's your mic. Get comfortable. Let's get you set up. Safety first. Who's got a helmet?
Oh yeah, I just rode in.
Uh, um, your motorcycle?
I mean, it's debatable, but according to DOT, yeah.
Okay. Do you feel safe on the road? I always am afraid for these motorcyclists.
Um, is that before or after I got hit by an SUV?
That's right. You did recently get in a car accident.
Yeah, it wasn't my fault.
Did you go over the hood?
No, it was kind of a blur, but I I was in my lane. I saw them like just abruptly turn right in front of me, and I just quickly, kind of fishtailed into them, got hit, flew forward, landed on my side with the bike, and then I just remember being like, "Oh, I got to turn this engine off," and then I picked it up and limped to the sidewalk and
Jesus.
la-di-da.
Are you healed up?
Yeah,
Good.
yeah.
Well, I'm glad.
I'm like Wolverine,
I first, for the people that don't know you and aren't familiar with Scott Kidd, who is Scott Kidd?
Well, maybe I should take this off.
Yeah, let's take a look at your eyes. I mean, we can see the mustache. This is the first podcast I've had where a guest has a gray mustache as well. So this is the mustache episode. Oh, what? The visor just flips up. There he is. Look at those locks.
Oh, and bagels.
There, the bagels. Get comfortable. Let's let's get yourself set up. What's that? Just a hanky?
Yeah, it's just my bandana.
Oh, okay.
It's just in my pocket.
Yeah, get comfortable. Let's get the mic sort of sit up kind of in close to your mouth. No, you can lay back but move the mic closer. There you go. Kind of. I feel like this is difficult. There you go. Yeah. You look so uncomfortable, Scott.
It's good.
You look so uncomfortable.
These are good. This is good equipment.
Well, first of all, this is a treat to have you here, Scott.
Thank you.
Tell the audience, who are you? What do you do? What do you?
Is it this one?
Yeah, that's your close up.
Okay.
So if you want to I always tell people, if you want to look into the soul of the audience, right there. But this obviously for the audio listeners that they missed that entire.
Oh, I'm sorry. I don't know how to do it in Latin. I'm a comedian, writer, actor. I've directed some stuff. I'm Cajun.
What would you say is like your first interest in comedy? Was it stand up? Was it writing? Like what did you sort of take to first as your thing that you enjoyed the most?
Laughter, I think it was just when I was a child, laughter. Trying to get somebody to laugh, whether it was like falling down at the right time or doing a stupid voice or putting balloons in my shirt or something.
Mm-hmm.
Anything that I saw other people getting a laugh for, I kind of processed and was like, well, why is this funny?
Did it come natural?
I would say yeah, because my dad's side of the family is like pretty goofy, and then my mom's side of the family is kind of ironic.
Okay.
So it works out.
That's a good mix.
Yeah. I'd say like Cajun. It's a good mix.
Cajun.
Yeah.
What is Cajun?
Some people say it's onion mixed with cayenne and bell pepper. I say it's if you're from like Acadiana in Louisiana, or if you were like originally from like Nova Scotian roots.
Okay. So it's a Louisiana.
Mostly, yeah. I would say a lot of people claim their Cajun heritage, but I'm like from a pretty Cajun spot. New Iberia? Have you ever heard?
I've never been to New Orleans. Or Louisiana. That's my.
I'm going there in a month, I think. Yeah.
Are you doing shows down there?
I hope to, but it's more about location scouting and seeing my family, stuff like that.
Cool. Did you start comedy in Louisiana?
I did. I started a jazz club. I mean, besides just like doing comedy on a stage or like competing in something in school or, a play or something, actual like pursuing stand-ups and open mics and stuff like that was in Louisiana back in 2005.
Was there a pretty big scene? What was it like if you want to start doing stand-up in Louisiana?
I mean, it was different and it fluctuates. It like goes away, it comes back. I think now social media has really made it available, accessible, but it's still going to be, pretty sparse in comparison to say like Los Angeles.
Sure. Can you bring that down a little bit? I'm worried. No. So you can lay it back down, but bring this whole thing down underneath your chin. So sit back, be comfortable. Get comfortable. Get comfortable. Don't you look so uncomfortable, Scott?
Is this good?
No. Move your head up like you're... Freaking bring it down lower. It's like you're doing a pull-up or something.
I just came from the gym.
Oh, that's right.
Bagels out.
Bagels and locks. That should be your Instagram handle.
Bagels and lockers, man.
Sorry, so it's different from L. You want to describe the LA comedy scene?
Boring. Not the question, just the answer.
All right, so you're going to Location Scout. What is the project?
I mean, there's only so much I'm going to reveal because,
Is it a documentary? Is it
no
a short film?
It would be a feature film, but I really want to, there's been a lot of production in my state, and I have a lot of places at my disposal. Okay. So I just want to see what can be used, and as far as genres or any of that stuff, I'd rather not even scratch that surface.
So are you creating the project based off of locations and resources, or do you have an idea kind of?
No, I know what I want to do, but yes, the first That's part too. Influence it. Yeah, absolutely. Because luckily, when I was a child, a good way I made friends or got popular in class projects was just being able to draw. And so I used to, just like in comedy, meet people who are creatives and you kind of compete against each other and keep each other like sharp. And same sort of thing happened in elementary school with like artists. And so I have a bunch of friends who are artists and in one way or another, or a bunch of ways. And so I like working with people I can trust and people I appreciate and respect. So, long-term relationships, that's definitely a good thing.
So going back to see them and work with them. That's awesome. So when did you move to LA?
Oh man, that's a tough question.
Did you do a couple of times?
Actually, I did.
Yeah.
I moved here in 2008 and then moved back to be an EMT to go save people. And
terrifying.
It was. And then I did that for I stayed registered for 3 years.
As a working EMT?
Yeah. But I did other stuff in between. And then I eventually moved back because I was like, man, there's just, do I want to take the serious career route right now and kind of tuck the creative side away, or do I want to keep doing what I initially came for? And I decided the latter.
I'd imagine, once you got certified, you're sort of set as in that line of work, so to speak. That's a pretty good paying job, I'd imagine.
No?
As an EMT?
Not unless you get you up your status, you invest in yourself more.
Oh, okay. Getting more certified or something?
Yeah, or you work enough hours to where you can apply to be a part of a union or some kind of motion picture association, because they need...
It's at least a secure type of thing. If you would have stayed the course, maybe done your certificates, you could potentially have put the creative stuff aside and cut to Scott now, you would have, who knows? I mean,
Yeah, who knows?
but you had a urge to follow, like, what did it like manifest itself in when you were like, damn, I know I should be doing something else? Was there a moment that it really hit you?
Yeah. One of my supervisors' names was, I don't know if I can say this, but
You can say it, and if you don't want to put it in, I can take it.
okay. His name was Mike Hunt. It really was. It said it on his door. And I went to my supervisor, who was kind of portly, losing his hair. Showed me his house. It was not the most impressive, but he was the one I went straight to. I was like, "Hey, we work with a Mike Hunt." And the other guy, the higher up, who's also bald, even more strict, he would like be like, "You got to make sure you shave like to the bone. I don't want to see any like spots or any, like, you got to make sure you shave close, because when you work in any kind of emergency situation or like volatile situation, a lot of times you have to have a mask, like a firefighter. Or if you work in the oil field, you have to have really short hair and real close shave, because you wear like respirators.
Mm-hmm.
You don't want there to be any
I see what you're saying.
airflow. So like they're really strict. It's like they get mad about science, and it's understandable. But I realized if I stuck around, I probably would get very angry and maybe not have any hair.
Like, I see where this could go.
Right. And then the second thing was, I asked one of my coworkers, who's a female, she was a paramedic, and I was like, "Hey, do you ever get used to the smell? Because like there's so many smells for so many reasons." And she simply said no. So I was like, wow, you're a really good person. And I'm not saying I'm not, but wow, I don't know. Smells are pretty terrible.
What was if you don't want to talk about it, but what was like the most extreme scenario that you had found yourself in as an EMT?
Oof.
'Cause I've never talked with anyone who's done that.
Children being,
Hurt.
yeah. Or there was one time I picked up a, I guess you would say a transgender person
Mm-hmm.
who was beaten and then I think hit by a vehicle, because there was just so many things wrong when we picked the person up, and just blood. Oh wait, there's one worse. There was a guy who he had a valve in his arm, in his vein, which isn't known to like squirt. The vein oozes, but because they put this valve in his arm. When we went to show up to go rescue him, so to speak, he opened his arm and it just was like chocolate syrup spraying out of his arm. And, it was a matter of like putting your finger in the hole and holding it, and just blood was everywhere. And I had to mop up all this, it was just like pools of this purplish, gelatinous, like, it's seen in Terminator 2 where like the liquid metal starts going back together. It was kind of like that.
Wow.
It was some freaky stuff. But yeah. Oh wait, there's another one.
See, now they're all coming.
I got this weird distress signal or whatever, this like shortness of breath call, because usually that means like you gotta go like right away, red alert. Yeah, or yeah. But come to find out, it was a guy who worked in like the sugarcane business, and he had like one of those like houses that you stay in while you're working, so that way you're next to where you're working. And he had coworkers with him too, but apparently they got really wasted, and somehow one thing led to another. They beat him to death and dragged him into a field, and he had his phone to where he was like calling for help, and they took it out of his hand. And I ended up using the fire department's heat scanner, because I was like, hey, you guys have like a heat like signature scanner or something? And they were like, actually, yeah. And so me and my paramedic partner went through the cane field at night. It's like 3, 4 in the morning. And sure enough, we found the body because he kept saying, I smell blood. I smell blood. Because he had been in the business so long. He was like a legacy, so to speak. His dad and stuff were in it. But so there's cops like arresting these dudes, and there's like glass and blood everywhere. And like we find this guy and he's dead, but he just had like one arm up, like frozen, where it looked like he was like
Wanted a high five.
Like he was calling us.
Oh, Jesus.
And they took his phone out of his hand.
He died like mid-call.
Yeah.
Jesus. Are you spiritual, Scott Kid? Do you believe in a higher power?
Yeah, absolutely. I think those who don't allow themselves to just do that aren't wrong or bad or stupid. I think they're just, maybe missing out, because it's like, sometimes we want to be like, hey, I can't explain this. Let's give it up to God, and that's a generalization for a lot of people who don't subscribe, so to speak. But it's like when you find yourself persevering, you find yourself pushing forward despite whatever may come, I think that's God. I think that's something beyond us, because what are you're representing something stronger than maybe what you would normally want to choose.
Mm-hmm.
Because we are together. Tuka Pamoja.
What does that mean?
That's Swahili for we are together.
We are together. So do you think there's like something that you're supposed to be doing as far as like a plan or a determined?
Is in what regard? What respect?
Just with your life? What your impact is on while you're here? What's your
absolutely. Yeah. Right? I don't think I'm alone in that.
No, I'm curious. Well, if you wish.
Obviously just from my family's lineage and looking back at them and how I was raised, a lot of helpers, a lot of educators, a lot of scientists, a lot of doctors, a lot of military, a lot of helpers, a lot of people who were like, let's make this happen. Let's make this, work. My grandmother was like a lobbyist who started like a nursing program back in the day in my hometown and within the state. Had to lobby with the governor, so that way nurses could girls could leave school and become a nurse, and like pursue a career and not worry about, am I going to be able to find some kind of trade? Or it was just like this outlet that was created that she put together because she was also in nursing.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
How do you think that's affected your performing, or how has your upbringing affected maybe the type of humor that you do or the jokes you write, or just what do you think that comes into play?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I want to kind of educate people, but at the same time, a lot of people just want to laugh. They're just here to just have a sandwich and a beer or whatever. But talk about your day or talk about some crazy stuff that I would never like take seriously. But I also like the concept of dropping in hints or like maybe gearing a story to where there's a certain moral behind it, but also just poking at people's natural defenses, like saying a joke that I don't necessarily believe in, but I know it's funny because A, it might be inappropriate, B, it's like the reverse of what you would believe in, so you would instantly be against it. But if you can read through the lines or my tone of voice and realize, oh, this guy's just kidding, Do
you have an example?
I work well under pressure. That's why fat chicks like to sit on my face. It's a stupid joke, but I mean, it's true. I do work well under pressure. But it's like, I don't.
You said that so fast. I loved it.
I mean, in LA, every girl thinks she's fat, so it's not like I'm trying to offend anybody. It's just to be like,
Everyone's going to be offended because they all think they're fat.
or their, reverse psychology in their mind makes them like what I just said, because
They want to sit on your face.
maybe I don't
A couple
think.
ways to interpret that joke.
Yeah, we don't have to include that part.
Oh, no, I like that.
Okay.
Okay, so we had a couple questions. Where are you from? When you got to LA, let's talk about, well, we kind of talked about your life and your material. Starting in another state, another scene has its advantages. So do you think when you got to LA the second time, you had more of a drive, and I'd imagine you'd been performing more than when you had first moved here? Do you think, was there a difference when you came back the second time?
I think the first time I came, I pursued it, but I mean, I wasn't around long enough to where it was really a big impact, and I didn't necessarily know where to go.
Okay.
I didn't. It was like during that time, especially like with the stock market going crazy, I didn't know half the stuff I know as far as like Google. I mean, I knew what Google was, but like just internet search for like where are all the signups, where are all the castings, where are all the locations or whatever. There's so many avenues, so many outlets to succeed, and it's almost overwhelming. But if you don't know, then it's like you're like, oh, maybe I can find an agent and maybe they can show me the way.
Yeah.
Which is like,
that's just not really possible anymore.
Maybe not. And also, it was back then, it was like an open invitation for someone to lead you astray, or charge you a percentage when you didn't necessarily. Like when I moved back, it was 2010. It was right after the BP oil spill. And I think I got like some internet commercial right away. And it was very ironic because the commercial itself, or the promo, was like making fun of the fact that I was a newbie. Making fun. It was like, it was kind of turning it on its own head.
Mm-hmm.
And I totally went full force anyway. There were moments in the studio where I was just like killing the freaking production. They're just dying. And I just wish some of those parts would have been left in. But like, it was just like a Rocky montage. And I mean, if you guys ever want to look up a really stupid video of me, just Google montage me Andy Awards. I think that's all you have to put. And it's like 2011 or something like that.
And that was the first commercial.
That was like the first real paid commercial that
you got.
It wasn't big, but it was paid and it was decent. It was better than most things I was doing at the time. And
you're still auditioning commercially, and I know we talked before, you've been doing like extra work on a couple shows that have been bringing you back. So
yeah, and I mean that's lucky, and they seemed I seemed to stick out enough to where they put me in a certain position, But I also, November 12th, I don't know when this is going to be released.
Probably like 2 weeks or something.
Okay, so November 12th, movie I was in is going to be out on digital release.
Oh, cool.
Like Amazon Prime, I think. But also Redbox.
What's it called?
It's called Cross, Rise of the Villains. Rise of the Villains. With Vinnie Jones and Danny Trejo.
Cool.
And Lou Ferrigno. Do you know who that is?
Yeah.
Or Brian Austin Green. You know who that is?
I know.
He was
sounds very familiar. Brian Austin Green.
He is dating Megan Fox. Is that right? Or married? Dating? I don't know. I don't know.
Cool. So is this your first feature that you've been in?
I think so. Yeah.
Okay.
I think so. Yeah.
Cool. What was how did you get it? What was the process like?
Like everything else, or most things I've gotten, it was through somebody. It was through somebody I knew. But it was because I was working on the show I was doing for like a year and a half at the Comedy Store. Mm-hmm. And one of the cast members was like, hey, can you and this other person come through, and it's this much and blah blah blah. So we were like paid to do it, and I was like, yeah, why not?
Why not?
And it was pretty ridiculous. I got kind of beat up, like physically. We had to do some stunts.
Oh shit!
But I got to speak. So that was cool, and we'll see what they left in, because every time I do anything, it's always edited to whatever. It might just be like
just you getting beat up,
yeah. or like I just sneeze, like. Oh man, it's like, God, this guy's terrible. Let's just, but who knows?
But he looks good getting beat up.
Right. Which, really, I mean, if you want to cast me, I got hit by a truck and I survived, so I can handle it.
You're a stunt man.
Yeah.
Well, what did you learn from being around all those actors? Did you pick up on, like, I mean, I know the scenes you were in might not have had all of them.
I mean, when I was an extra on one of the shows, This Is Us, like Don Cheadle's right there, or Paul Scheer was like right next to me, because I guess I was drawing so much attention or whatever, or maybe it's just the direction of the camera and I just happened to be in that spot. I forget. But it's like, once you get used to not staring at them, just
you're just staring at Don Cheadle.
You're like, this is the person on TV. I try not to. I don't think I did too much, but like, I was on a show with Mandy Moore, and she and her coworker were like coming up to me and trying to like talk to me or whatever, which is very confusing, because I didn't realize how tall Mandy Moore is. It was pretty.
You think was she like 5'10"?
I don't know, but it was surprising for me.
Okay.
Because I'm not used to seeing a lot of tall women, so to speak. But yeah, no, I mean, any of those situations, you're just like, work. Like I worked at a Whole Foods kind of place, like a organic grocery store in the deli, and I made like chicken salad sandwiches for a lot of like celebrities, like Ron Perlman, aka Hellboy. He eats chicken salad. Mm-hmm. Or one of the girls from SNL, one of the ladies who was in Ghostbusters. The one with the little hands.
Kate McKinnon?
The other one. Not Leslie.
Who's the other?
Kristen?
Amy Poehler?
Kristen
Wiig.
Wiig,
yeah.
Okay. So yeah, name dropping.
Well, hold on, wait. The question was, what did you learn?
I learned to keep my mouth shut. I learned to be quiet, because quite honestly, I mean, like, I talked to Ron Perlman, I'm like, hey, you were great in Beauty and the Beast. And he's like, wow, no one brings that. I mean, it's the same thing. I ran into Marlon Wayans, and I was like, hey, man, I really loved you in Senseless. And he's like, oh, wow, you took it way back. Like, that was a good movie with David Spade. But I mean, like, yeah, he's done newer stuff, but I mean, I knew that he would remember if I brought that up. He'd probably be like, yeah, somebody brought up Senseless.
What the fuck? That's like a 20-year-old movie.
Yeah, like, just gave me a temporary tattoo.
Well, getting to LA, the second time you mentioned you didn't know where to go. And then you obviously found your way, but where were some of the places that you had sort of got familiar with and was able to perform and creatively, explore and improve?
I discovered Bad's Lava, eventually the Comedy Bureau, both websites for comedy, but also I went to Let's Make a Deal as an audience member once, or a contestant or whatever. And I couldn't help but talk to the warm-up comic, because I'd never seen that before, that there was like a warm-up
Yeah.
comedian, like keeping the audience at bay and throwing candy at people and making us sing Neil Diamond songs and stuff. And I was like, how do I get your job? That's basically what I said. And he was like, you need to just go work out at the rooms and stuff. Like go to the store. And that's all he, like the comedy store, but he said the store. And I was like, you mean the one Paulie's mom owns? Because it was like, so, a while ago. So I was like, okay. So I started
This
going.
was 2010.
Yeah.
The first time you went to the comedy store.
Yeah.
And when did you perform there for the first time?
Wow. It was like maybe 2 years later. I finally got, stage time. There was a few people who were like, hey, if you've never been up before, give us, your name or whatever. And then, yeah, I think, even with all that time of being on stage and stuff, I had psyched myself out and ended up doing some like rendition of a Dane Cook bit. Well, I mean, at the time, I wasn't even really, I thought he was funny, but I was like, he was like the one person you shouldn't emulate because so many people know who he is.
Yeah.
And I was doing like something from like his first Comedy Central bit. And it's not my routine. There's nothing I ever, but for whatever reason, my mind went blank and I started doing, and it was like ever since that moment, I was like, I gotta do better than this. I'm not gonna be afraid and be like, oh no, I gotta run. I'll be like, no, let's figure out what I did there and keep going. And maybe that's like a scientific process thing, being like a nerd and stuff as a child, or maybe it was just, this is what I want, so this is what I'm gonna have to deal with.
Did people call you out?
No, nobody noticed.
Oh, okay.
And it was terrible. It wasn't like,
it's not like you did it like beat for beat, word for
no. And it was just like,
the guy just did
like,
Dane Cook's joke verbatim
from like years before that. But I mean, like the other night I saw somebody who they were pretty funny and they had a cool perspective, but at one point they started turning into Bill Burr, and I was like, what are you doing, man? Why are you turning it? It was just like the delivery started going exactly. And it was like, okay, obviously this guy's your influence, your inspiration, but let's take it back a bit, Was
Dane Cook one of your early influences?
I don't think so. I think, I'm dressed like him, sort of, from his first special, but that's not really the reason. This is actually, I think, the outfit I wore when I got beat up by the girls in the movie, so look out for that. November 12th, a red box near you.
Dropping it again. We'll definitely put if there's a trailer, we'll put a link to that.
There's the trailer. I'm in the trailer.
Are you in the trailer?
Yeah.
Oh, that's awesome.
They show me getting hit in the trailer. This guy's so good at taking a punch.
Dude, people make their careers off of
action. Throw me down a flight of stairs. I'll do it.
Jesus. Biggest failure in your career here. What you learned.
You mean in comedy?
In comedy.
Biggest failure in comedy?
Biggest failure, what you learned and how you drove yourself to not make it again.
I don't know if I've learned enough from
the failure.
But I think my biggest failure was getting mad at the hierarchy when they were human at one point, but they had to morph into their Super Saiyan or like Rock Monster or like whatever, hierarchy status it took to get to that point. And I'm just judging them from where they are, being where I am at and not considering, their point of view. And
can you go into detail? I mean, what do you mean as the hierarchy?
Like, let's say there's like a comedy club, for instance, the Laugh Factory, which I have no qualms or anything negative. I've never worked for them or anything like that. But let's say I went and worked for them and they're like, I don't think you're ready yet. And I'm like, what do you mean I'm not ready yet? I've not only been doing this over a decade, but everyone else I just saw was terrible. I'm like, yeah, well, what you don't realize and what I'm not going to tell you to your face is that all of these people have had to eat all kinds of crow, so to speak, to get to this point. And I'm not realizing that maybe they had to chisel away at some of the things that they considered more of their style to refine to fit the keyhole that would unlock their career, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
But me, I'm like stubborn, and I'm like, okay, well, if you can't beat them, join them. How about instead of I beat them or join them, I just make my own project way over here, and hopefully within time, I'll either show that I've got a plethora of content, or I just make something so good within the process that it outweighs any preliminary challenge. Like, there's a lot of people who are passed at different clubs because they're really good at comedy. And then there's other people who are passed because they're really funny and they're in movies, you know? And then there's people who are passed because of other reasons that still pertain to comedy. But I can't like judge that or get mad about that or like compare myself to those people, even though I do. I shouldn't. And I feel like indulging in that and getting like frustrated and upset, kind of fueling that negative fire, is a failure. But nothing is really a failure because it's just an opportunity to grow. You know, even another comedian mentioned this a few years back, like, you know, like even wildfires, they promote growth inadvertently. So it's just a matter of time and perspective.
Yeah. So every time you realize, oh, I'm doing this thing again, this is not good. This doesn't ever help as far as judgment or holding resentment towards
Right.
this hierarchy or other comics. You're like,
Right.
you've recognized that as this is a unuseful.
Because it tears away from me more than anyone. And it's like, if you're about to, you know, self-implode or explode or whatever, it's just detaching you from the reality or the rest of what's happening, no matter what, you know, because it's either internal or it's obviously external, and that'll cause detachment one way or another. But I mean, still having an alert system, having a, you know, like if I come up to somebody and I'm just doing my thing and I have come to this point where I have this experience or blah, 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 and I see somebody who like suddenly the energies start to collide and like the vibrations start to hit again. And then that moment starts to happen where it's like Bruce Banner turning into the Hulk or whatever. Like, I can take that as a telltale sign of, hey, you know what?
Caution.
Yeah, maybe this person isn't somebody I need to work with. Maybe they're not ready. Or, hey, you know, maybe I need to give them a chance and not judge them. Or, hey, you know what? Maybe it's time to have a beer or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
But, you know, like it's kind of like when I used to play music in band as a, you know, kid in school. There's moments where you're just making sweet music, but eventually you're going to have to take a rest or a breath, you know? You can't just you'll blow yourself out. You'll run out if you just keep trying to go. You have to breathe. So maybe that's like a metaphor for
Yeah, it could be applied to a lot of stuff. What is something like a ritual or a habit that you do that sort of resets you when you either get to that point where you're like, oh shit, I'm about to snap, turn into the Hulk? You know, what do you like to do to reset yourself?
I find, or I've found in the past, whenever I used to just do a lot of work when I was like, you know, blue collar life or whatever, just working, not necessarily a creative, but still being creative. I found that like imitating the people I have a problem with, like doing an impression of them, becoming them, helped me to gain their perspective, and it helped me to flush out negativity towards them. But a lot of times I would become them and reenact the negativity with a condescending point of view and tone of voice, being them, which kind of morphed into a crazy off the wall character that could have been used in comedy. So like it was almost like even when I wasn't training, I was molding my life to train myself to deal with this in a funny comedic way.
Okay.
So yeah, I mean, I think just being able to make fun or emulate someone. There's so many opportunities, so many avenues of that. I mean, like like the show I was doing, I literally was playing more than one person, and kind of the shtick was to make fun of like someone who is a little like gets pissed off whenever you copy them. Like, that's a big thing is people being copied, plagiarism, stuff like that. But to show up as someone, like to become them, is very it can be very belittling. It can also be very uplifting if you look at it the right way. But yeah, it was just tug of war, I guess, with personalities. But I think it's funny, you know. Do you do impressions? Not to switch the questions.
My impression, I have a few like celebrity impressions I can do.
Give me one. Is it okay if I ask?
I can do Ray Romano.
Yeah, I can do that too.
I did a shitty magician, Ray Romano.
Let's do that.
Oh, hello. Welcome, Scott.
Hey, how's it going? How you doing, Sam?
I got another question for you.
Great.
What's your dream job,
Oh,
Scott?
yeah. Oh, wow. I'd probably I'd probably say it's like it's turning into a Muppet. Okay.
That's Kermit, yeah.
Yeah. Or
Ma.
oh, Kermit. Ma. What is my what's the one I do? Oh, come on. That's basically that was my Ray Romano. I'm sorry. What was the question?
I don't remember. Oh yeah. What's the dream job?
Oh yeah.
What's the dream job?
I just kind of alluded to it actually in a like maybe accidentally. Can I make sure?
Yeah, set that there.
I would love to work for Jim Henson.
Oh wow.
Yeah. I really, really want to, but I've been too scared to pursue. I mean, years ago,
It's right down the street, the studios.
I pass by it all the time. I just stop and look at it. But I'm still too scared because I have like in one of my email accounts, I have a draft I started like 10 years ago to them for an internship because they used to do a bunch of internships there, and I was just too scared. I still don't think I'm ready.
God, I'm gonna say this. I think applying to an internship in an email is here. This is the fear spectrum. Very low. This is low end. Finding a dead body in a field with a heat scanner is over here, and you've already done that over here. So send that email, baby.
I mean, I'm aware. I'm just saying, like, I want to make sure that I can do it, man.
Send that email right now. Pull up that Gmail.
No, it's too late. I gotta time it right. But
Just send it.
but no, just stop it.
I need you.
Well, beyond that, like I was saying before, I want to create my own and
Version of
and then like pitch it.
That's great.
And I, in the process, have made a lot of friends with people who work for Jim Henson, who
Oh, cool.
design puppets, who, you know, do different voices and stuff. I've gotten to meet a lot of different voiceover people.
Is that what that would be? You'd be a voiceover actor?
I would but I mean, I want to, and these guys are usually talented. So I would assume that I would design, build, like actually use, and then possibly like write or, like you're gonna have to sing, you're gonna have to dance, you're gonna have to like, keep it clean,
Mm-hmm.
unless it's one of those where it's not clean. But it for me, it's a double. It's like a double major, so to
Okay.
speak, because you're not really confined to one path working in that field. There's so many and it's like just like comedy or anything else. Like comedy, you can do cartoons. Comedy, you can do stand up. Comedy, you can do sketch. Comedy, you can do movies. Comedy, you can do music. I mean, it's just whatever. There's so many opportunities. You can do children's comedy. You can do like old people comedy. You can do like sick people comedy. You can do whatever. And I mean, I would like to find buffet comedy. Like
Jimmy?
No, not Buffett.
Oh.
Buffet. Like an all you can eat buffet comedy show.
So like a stand-up show at like the Golden Corral.
Yeah. Yeah, that sounds good. Like everybody's already satisfied, you know what I mean? And you're just there kind of like keeping it going, and maybe you throw in like, hey, by the way, we got some fresh Brussels sprouts coming out right now. Hey, all the mac and cheese fans, this one's got bacon in it.
God,
that
sounds so weird, man.
I think it would be really cool if it was like, I don't know, like Mall of America's Golden Corral or something. I don't know if
Comedy room.
like something where there's like a horseshoe and there's a stage, like.
But that's weird. It's a weird audience because people are always getting up to go back to the buffet.
Hey, ma'am. Hey,
it's very distracting.
Hey, it's pink shorts again. Hey.
Okay, I walked the audience again. No, I walked them to the fucking self-serve machine.
I walked them to their table.
You might be onto something there, Scott Kid. Okay, this is one of my favorite questions to ask people. If you had a billboard on the corner of La Cienega and Sunset, that big one that's above Pink Dot?
Yeah.
You had a billboard there. What would you have on it? What would the message be, the image?
I've never thought about this ever. So
what would it say?
It's crazy that this is, but I mean, like now it's starting to come to me. Just maybe if maybe I do a series of them. If I had the money to just advertise or the backing or whatever, but maybe like the first one could be like, hey, this billboard costs money, but love is free or something like that. Which isn't true necessarily. Maybe, I don't know. Maybe it is, but like you can care, a lot of people spread awareness, but not so many people put in the work to like actually make the difference. And I think that's one of the biggest things in our society, that we used to be so hell-bent on protecting your family and building your family, like on a very simple form and a gross form and a big, like even like your country or your continent or your government or whatever, like protect your people, protect your family. And now it's just gotten so to the point where there's so much convenience that it's like we don't even want to put in a lot of the effort. Like me, I didn't want to see some things through because they were maybe in my point of view in the way or not where I wanted to go or whatever. And who's to say that might have not made me stronger or made me more assertive? But I just feel like if you're going to have a billboard, maybe it could be something that doesn't make people get into a wreck. Or maybe it's something that promotes something other than sadness. But I don't know. What billboard? I mean, a billboard. How about follow Scott Kidd at the Scott Kidd on Instagram. The TheScottKidd. Who's to say I won't have a different Instagram by then? Maybe it'll be like watermelon cakes. Yeah, at watermelon cakes. Follow me.
That sounds like a thirst trap account.
It might be seedless.
All right, Scott. You've answered all my questions, by the way.
Thank God.
What do people need to know about Scott Kidd?
that I'm funny and that I am good at comedy. No, I don't know. What do they need to know about me? That I'm not evil. I don't know, man. What do they need to know about me? They need to know that I'm here for you, man. That I give more than I take.
Well, there you have it, guys.
Hey.
Scott, where can people watch your videos that you put out? I know you sent me something for Halloween this year that you were carving some pumpkins on like an axe. So what can you where can people watch more of you if they think you're funny and they want to see more of?
That's a great question. I really wish I had an answer for it. I'm gonna say
Where's your stuff at?
I don't even know. If you can find it, there's a bunch of stuff I did with Dromebox, Dromebox, Dromebox Laboratories. I was on a series called The Ding Dong Show for quite some time, for the past like year or whatever. But that show's been around for like 27 years. So you could follow their YouTube live stream and find, if you scroll back a few months, you'll find stuff that I was in.
Okay.
Also Instagram, you can hit me up and tell me, hey, come do a show at our brewery. We're not as sour as our beer. And I don't mean that in a negative. I'm saying like, they make beer that's sour.
So, yeah.
Yeah. Anyway, try YouTube. You can usually just YouTube or Google Scott Kidd comedian. You probably find a bunch of stuff. If you find stuff I did at Flappers, don't judge me. It might be okay. It might be the exact same joke 5 times. I don't know how many videos I have. Also, don't forget to check out November 12th.
Yeah. Say it again. What's it, November 12th?
Cross of the Cross trilogy, Cross Rise of the Villains.
See Scott getting beat up
by women.
Yeah, and if you want more of that, you can find him in person and beat him up. What'd I tell you, guys? What did I tell you? You didn't believe me. That was a great podcast. Was it not a great podcast? It was a great podcast. It's not going to be the last one. I'm sorry. I know you were probably like, "Wait, Sam said it's going to be the last podcast, and then nothing, and then nothing. But where am I going to get my podcast stuff from? Oh, there's only the other million other podcasts by comedians and people. Look, this is an important part of my life, and I like to think that I'm sharing it with you guys. The tens of people, 10 people that listen to it. Thank you. So check out Scott's movie, Cross, Rise of the Villains. It came out November 12th, but you can find it online. Feel free to check out Scott Kidd at his Instagram, The Scott Kidd. Also, he's on YouTube. You can see him on the Ding Dong Show live stream videos on Dromebox. Thank you so much for listening.